Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we're checking out the brand new Convergence Overhaul mod for Elden Ring. This mod is currently in super early alpha, so this is by no means the finished product. It's only just been officially released and is already getting frequent updates. But already there are so many incredible changes and additions to the game, including 30 starting classes, 300 new spells, a bunch of modified environments, loads of new weapons and armor sets, and even new bosses. Obviously, as this is a mod, I believe it won't currently be usable by console players. However, you can mod Bloodborne and the other Souls games even on console, so stick around to check it out even if you don't own Elden Ring on the PC, because I reckon it'll only be a matter of time. Now that you know a bit about what this mod is about, let's jump in so I can show you some of the key features. Firstly, most of the keepsakes have been changed. The descriptions don't match yet because obviously this is still in really early alpha. However, you'll already see a bunch that you have no idea what they are, including combat, heirloom, and enchanted remnants. We will talk more about remnants later. More importantly, what I wanted to show you on this screen was the origins. This is where you will choose your class. There are 30 to choose from, and each one tells you a little bit about what the focus is, such as strength stats and melee combat for the Dreadnought, or an intellect arcane hybrid focusing on magic damage for the Frost Witch. Now that we're finished with a super quick look at each class, let's select the one that we want to use. I'll go for Frost Witch for the purposes of this video. And now let's jump in. Straight away, you will notice this is different. You can no longer just walk out of the church. It is blocked off by a fog wall. You are very generously given all of your flasks along with the physic right at the start of the game, along with also the whetstone knife, torrent, and the crafting kit. And this is because each of the 30 classes all have a different starting position. Before we head to the starting position for the Frost Witch, let's just quickly take a look at our inventory. And as you'll see straight away from this staff, even though it shares the look of a staff that's already in the game, this is a brand new weapon. This is Rani's staff. And it very clearly states here which spells and which affinities this staff is most effective and efficient at harnessing. So with this staff, you want to focus on magic spells and frost affinity. It's fairly good with lightning as well, but not really with anything else. And again, the armor sets are completely different and tailored specifically to each class. So the Frostwitch set is going to give me a set boost to intellect, arcane, and also reduces the FP cost of my sorceries. Let's head through the portal. And you meet me here now in Liurnia, just by this lake outside of Caria Manor. And no, you're not going mad. This building is not in the base game. There are huge areas in the game that have been completely revamped for the purposes of this mod, and we'll be visiting a few of them later. In each starter area, you will find the respective note for the class that you have selected, along with any equipment relevant to that class. So if we now take a look at the note, we can see a list of the locations where all of the frost spells and frost armor sets are held throughout the world. So you can use this note as a quest log of sorts for your class, as you locate all of your spells and all of your armor sets. And you can visit all 30 starting locations for every single class, and eventually you can wield every single spell and every single set in the game and switch up your class interchangeably. For now, let's head outside and rest at the site of grace because I picked an heirloom remnant as my starter item, and I'll show you exactly what that does. Here, there is a new option at the site of grace, and we can go into the remnant crafting menu. And this is exactly how you get all talismans in this mod. You will find heirloom, combat, and enchanted remnants where you would usually find talismans, and you can then exchange them at sites of grace for the specific talisman that you want, giving you more freedom with your build. But bear in mind, many item locations in this game have been changed, so where you would usually find a talisman, you may not anymore. Now let's look at two incredibly subtle but really cool quality of life changes before we delve into more of what this mod has to offer. Firstly, as you run around, you will automatically pick up every crafting material you come across. There is no longer any need to ride around the lands between constantly spamming triangle or Y. It will do that all for you. And perhaps more importantly, once you have unlocked every map fragment, do you find it can be a bit of a chore dragging your cursor around the map? It's quite slow, right? The speed has been significantly increased in this mod, and you zip around the map so quickly now. It is just so much more convenient. That's the introduction done. Let's have a look at some more of the details and some more of what this mod has to offer. Many things in the game world are the same, or at least very similar, so it will still feel familiar enough that you won't be too daunted. You just saw some marionettes walking by, and we're about to pop this balloon for a golden rune 6, just as we always would. Now let's head back in this structure, and we can loot the note for the Path of the Dreadnought, another one of the starter classes. And now if I take a look at this note, and another one I grabbed earlier, we can see exactly where all the spells and the armor sets for these two classes reside. So if you would like to switch your build mid-playthrough, this is exactly how you can do that. Also, as you stumble upon the spawn points of the classes, you will find their respective runes. You use the runes like so to acquire their spells. So I now also have the starter spells of the Aberrant Heretic. And just as you would in the base game, I can now equip them and use both sets of spells simultaneously. You meet me now at the very south of Liurnia, and you will probably have already noticed one key difference to the base game. This bridge has been repaired and you can run along it. It's such a subtle difference because you can always use the hidden path to get between Limgrave and Liurnia anyway, but the fact that they've repaired this bridge and you can run along the bridge is very, very cool. And as we're running along, we can also loot one of the other starter sets for the Vanguard. And as you see, this will raise your strength and dexterity and reduce weapon stamina cost. So should you wish to switch to a more melee focused class later on in the game, this is a great starting point. Now let's take a look at how some early game areas have been completely overhauled. The Groveside Cave, for instance, instead of having the Beastman of Farum Azula as the boss, is actually the starter area for the Bstial Devout. And this is where you will find the Faint Rune of Beasts along with their equipment. However, thankfully some areas are largely unchanged. As you see here at the Church of Ely, Carle is exactly where he's always been. However, the items that he sells have been changed up significantly, along with the fact that he sells smithing stones and somber stones. Not smithing stone 1 or somber stone 2, just smithing stone and somber stone. And I will talk to you more about how leveling up weapons works in just a minute. Now that we've done with Carle, let's run toward the Gatefront ruins whilst I show you another familiar area. This is another area that has been largely unchanged. However, the cellar below that usually contains the whetstone knife contains a different item now, because the whetstone knife is obviously given to you at the start of the game as default. And you will find that is a running theme. Many chests contain completely different items now to keep the game really fresh. However, some of them, just as this chest here, are exactly the same as they've always been, as you can see as we loot the flail. Now, for an area that is completely different, if we head right back to the start of the game and head down into the Stranded Graveyard, you will see we can't actually access the starter area. I believe you can still get round from the back, so I'm very curious to see what's in there, but the main reason we're here is to check out the Fringe Folk Hero's Grave. This is entirely different to usual, and is actually considered a very late game area for this mod. Some of the enemies you meet further down are insanely tough, and it has become more of a platforming section rather than a chariot dodging section. And this is just a taste of things to come, and just one of the many exciting ways the game world has been changed up for the Convergence mod. Now let's head back to Roundtable Hold, and I'll talk you through a few more of the new mechanics. As we are speaking to Hugh to upgrade our weapons, you can see I've already got my Frozen Needle to +2, and I just need one more Somber Stone to get it to +3. And once it's at +3, we now need large Somber Stones to upgrade further. In regards to Somber weapons, they work the exact same, it's just the naming convention's been changed up to make it a little bit more simple. And in regards to the smithing stones, as we're leveling up Rani's staff, you can see that smithing stone requirements have been halved. So for the first upgrade, it's 1 stone, the second upgrade is 2, and the third upgrade requires 3 stones. And just like with the large sombers, let me sell a few items so I've got enough money, and I can show you now it goes back to needing 1 large smithing stone. And then again, it will need 2 large, and then 3 large, and then that will move you on to the next tier of smithing stone requirements. That's the very basics of how upgrading work. And while we're here, I just wanted to speak to the Twin Maiden Husks and show you the plethora of goods they have on offer in this playthrough. And bearing in mind, this is right at the start of the game, so I have no idea what more will become accessible as we progress through the game and unlock some bell bearings. But they have loads of weapons on offer, a larval tier, just a bunch of stuff that they haven't had before. And as I rest up and take another look through the Heirloom Remembrance options that are on offer, I'd also just like to point out that this mod is completely free and available to download now on Nexus Mods. The link will be down below in the description. And not only that, I am not much of a heavy modder in this game. I do find modding still fairly confusing with certain mods. This one was insanely simple to set up, and the instructions given by the mod creator on Nexus Mods are very simple and easy to follow. So honestly, anyone can use this and dive in. Now you see me facing off against another early game boss, the Stone Digger Troll. You will see as I summon my lone wolves, all of my stats have been reduced. So in this mod, Spirit Ashes no longer have any cost. However, they effectively use some of your own energy and life force to sustain. So the more powerful the Spirit Ashes, the more of a drain they are on your stats whilst they are active. And once we have finished absolutely melting the Stone Digger Troll, we have been rewarded with the Shimmering Rune of Beasts. As I've mentioned a few times, each class has progressively stronger spells that you need to seek out throughout the game. And this is the apprentice level Bstial Incantations, which teaches us a few familiar favourites, Tail Swipe, Horn Charge and Bstial Vitality, but also a brand new spell, Earthen Spikes, which, as you can see, rips spikes from the ground in a fan shape in front of you that impale enemies from below. And this is just one of over 300 new spells in this mod. And now, just for good measure, let's go and beat Patches into submission and see what he has on offer. And now that he's been beaten up and we are back at the shop, his shop is largely unaffected for now. I don't know what he may sell at Volcano Manor. As you can see, he does sell 10 acid spray mist. This is very significant because usually this would take up your perfume bottles. But with vendors selling things like this, it means you can have huge stocks of consumables without needing to waste your pots and bottles. And two more very important things I should mention as we go into fighting the first main boss in the game, Margit. Firstly, you have all item crafting recipes available to you right at the start of the game, and most of them have been buffed up and enhanced to make consumables even more viable. Most of the time you get 2 or 3 of each item every time you craft just one, and not only that, throwing most items is far quicker now. You basically shotgun fire pots at enemies. It is amazing. In fact, as I say that, I realize I now really need to show you this. So let me pause this Margit fight, grab you some footage of that, and show you the spectacle of using consumables. And now that we've melted enemies with some fire pots, let's get back to Margit as I address the difficulty of this mod. Those of you who have played through this game a few times now probably think, Jesus, why is he taking so long to die? Well, in this mod, most enemies have significantly more health, and that is to make fights feel more epic and cinematic as they last a lot longer. And also, it means it's going to be much more of a test of your abilities. So the player character has been buffed up tremendously with some of the insanely powerful late game spells available to you. However, bosses have been buffed up accordingly, and you don't feel overpowered. If anything, I honestly feel Convergence may be tougher than the base game. Just bear that in mind as you are going through this mod. And finally, the last thing I wanted to show you, every time you defeat a main boss, you are rewarded with a Relic Remnant. These will get more powerful and unlock more powerful rewards as you progress through the game. But now, let's check out what the faint Relic Remnant we just got from Margit will unlock for us. And as you can see, these are super powerful talismans that will give us a huge buff to a particular area of our character. Of course, let's grab the magic one and equip that immediately. And that is pretty much everything you need to know about the Convergence mod for now. Hopefully that's enough for you to decide whether or not you want to jump in. And I am going to be playing this mod quite a lot over on my Twitch channel if you'd like to come and check it out. In fact, I think I'm going to attempt a magic-only challenge on Convergence, because some of the new spells are that insanely awesome. But for now, all that I have left to say is thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.